Hey, good Wednesday morning, everybody. John Piper with Grayson Nolet. We'll be starting the show here in about 5 minutes. Make sure you share this out if you're watching on the replay. We always like to hear from you. Comment. Ask questions. If we don't get to them today live on the show, we will get to them throughout the week. And, man, it is football weather. We'll get into that here in just a few minutes. But thank you for being on the DenCo Gridiron Show every Wednesday at noon. And once the season gets rolling, starting Saturday the 26th, we'll be back here at noon on Saturdays as well. So 2 shows for you this season, and we're glad you're a part of it.
I don't think it's going to let me. Welcome into the show. Going to get started here in just a couple minutes. If you're tuning in live right now anywhere, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube, if anybody wants to do us a favor, please go ahead and check out the Instagram feed, especially today. And we have been trying to integrate the audio from our mics and interviews and stuff into the live Instagram feed. So if anybody could or wants to, go ahead, tune into our Instagram feed and see if we were able to pulled it off, if we're sounding crisp and clear, if you can hear the music, if you can hear the interviews later on. Please let us know if all of that is sounding good on Instagram. But then feel free to tune in wherever else is most comfortable for you. Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube are also live today for the DenCo Gridiron Show.
We are 2 minutes away from our kickoff. Man, it feels good to say that.
We're 2 weeks away from 5A, 6A kickoffs.
Yeah, man, it just feels good to talk about a little football and kickoff. And I don't know if you tuned into any of the there's some prelim college games. Well, I say prelim. I mean, there was some decent
there was the
games
Navy game, you know.
I think not Baylor, but Brigham Young was playing.
Yeah, it was BYU and Navy, I believe.
Yeah.
So
there's some college action. UNT played.
UNT
they got the victory.
Houston Baptist, I believe, is who they played, and they got a big old victory against them.
HBU.
I want to say 59-21 or something like that was the final score. Yeah, they came out firing. It was Houston Baptist, and it was 57-31 North Texas at home at Apogee Stadium. And fans were in the stands for that game at Apogee. So make sure you support the North Texas Mean Green this season. They're letting people in at Apogee Stadium. Go ahead and check out the Mean Green. Their next game, I think they're actually going to be, I don't know if they're going to be at home against SMU or if they're on the road. Nonetheless, that is going to be a fun game. Oh, it's going to be at Apogee. So SMU versus Mean Green. We didn't think we were going to shout this game out, but heck, SMU versus North Texas. That'll be a fun game, John.
Yeah, good stuff. Man, right up here at Showtime, we're texting some coaches. And we got actually Coach Michael Young from Lake Dallas Falcons.
2 more coaches on. We got
Coach Dave Henigan, Ryan Raiders.
I hope Coach Henigan remembers me. I spent many games broadcasting the Den Ryan Raiders during my time at UNT. Caught a couple interviews with him when I was the sideline reporter. So I'd like to think I'm a kind of memorable guy. I mean, I'm 6'3" and redheaded, but you know what? I'm sure he gets a lot of reporters in his face every season. So,
hey, I do have a question. 6'3" and redheaded, can you dunk a basketball?
I can palm a basketball. I cannot dunk. Hey, This white boy cannot jump. I'm sorry.
All right, folks, stay tuned. We're going to get cranking. The show starts now. Hey, everybody, we are going to roll right into the intro. Thank you for tuning in on this Wednesday. Man, cool weather, and it's football season here in North Texas. Let's roll the intro right now.
From Fox 4, make sure to tune in to the DenCo Gridiron Show.
All right, Grayson, man, we are back, man.
Welcome to episode 3 of the 2020 season 4 of the DenCo Gridiron Show.
You were great at keeping up with that, man. Statistics, organization. Man, I followed you when you were on the sidelines and in the booth at KNTU Radio, calling some of the Denton ISD games. And I said, man, that guy, man, he's an up-and-comer. And then we connected this offseason during basketball. And here you are joining me on season 4, man. Glad to have you.
I think that it's been a great start, and we're only improving from here, just trying to continue to fine-tune this thing. And I'm happy to be on board so far. It's been a great couple of episodes. Here we are, episode 3, and we got a couple more guests today, a lot more great content planned.
Yeah, we're stay tuned. We've got Coach Dave Henigan from the Ryan Raiders will be joining us here shortly, along with Michael Young, head coach of the Lake Dallas Falcons. Man, and I know they're fired up to get back on the practice field. They kind of got things rolling again yesterday, and I'd be interesting to see what they have to say about kind of their first day of practice.
Yeah, I know that Denton ISD specifically got started yesterday with their practices, John. So I believe one of the Denton schools, it was either Den High, Den Guy, or Den Ryan. They practiced in the morning yesterday, while the other 3 Denton ISD schools all practiced in the afternoon. But that was the first time that all of these coaches got to see their players in pads, John, for nearly a year, 10 months to either a little bit shorter or a little bit longer than that, since they've seen their players in pads. Now, to my knowledge, there's no contact going on, and we can't ask Coach Henigan about this if I'm or if we're possibly incorrect here about this, but I believe that full contact isn't permitted until this Friday. So even though players were able to get in pads over Monday and Tuesday, John, I don't believe full contact is going on.
I saw some clips from both Denton Ryan practice and Denton Guyer. Grayson, they were in just shorts.
Okay, yeah.
Shorts
so
and helmet.
Full pads and full contact, I believe, are not permitted until this Friday, which that would put it at just literally 2 weeks before their season debut, when these coaches are just now getting, contact looks with their players in pads.
Yeah, and those scrimmages, normally spring football, you get some work in, or you get some scrimmages or some preseason scrimmages once the fall rolls around. None of that. To see kind of what you have, when it's game time, when you got to suit up and show up.
Yeah, it's especially going to be interesting for a lot of these teams that have a lot of positions to fill, or a lot of new guys that are coming in. It's just a lot of coaches will tell you that players look different outside of pads and in pads making contact. And
hey, we've got a Luke Piper tuning in from Vernon, Texas. He should be in class right now, so I'm kind of curious, man. If you're tuning in from your phone, make sure you're in class. Now, I think he's got a little break here this afternoon, but thanks for tuning in. Luke's been part of the show in the past, Denton Guyer grad, and he's in his first year at Vernon, Texas. And that's the power of this show. Is we started 4 seasons ago. There's a lot of students, coaches that have moved on that tune in from all across the country, that we can share this brand of Denton County, DenCo Gridiron football to the rest of the country.
Yeah, share with your friends. If you know anybody outside the state that maybe used to go to any of the schools or used to root for some of the teams that we like to talk about on the show, get them interested back into the content. Texas high school football is where it's at. And, there's a reason why we're out here every Wednesday talking about it, is because there's plenty to talk about.
A couple things before we get into the Argyle. Argyle is 4A classification, so they've started, they've wrapped up their second game.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're talking about Dave Henigan and Michael Young with Lake Dallas and Den Ryan and Den ISD getting hyped up for, their first game on September 25th. They must be, with the way that Argyle's playing on the field right now, that's got to get a lot of other teams pumped, seeing these teams that are already out there.
Yeah, we'll have Dave Henigan on here shortly. But, man, before we get into the show, the weather cooled a little bit. It was Labor Day weekend. Grayson, I don't know if you saw, post a couple pictures on the Twitter page and the Facebook page. Man, I smoked some brisket overnight and some ribs, kind of that tailgate football season. And I think we still got I should have brought you some up here, some chopped beef brisket for a brisket sandwich.
Well, I would have been very appreciative of that if you had just texted me or something, man.
Yeah.
Nah, it's all,
I don't always remember everything.
I was I had to take an Uber up to the show this morning because one of our cars caught a flat tire. So I was like, all right, I'll take an Uber up to the show. But I was just talking to my Uber driver on the way up here, and we were saying how, with the bubble and everything going on and stuff, it's you kind of get taken out of the environment of the game a little bit when the crowd's not really there or something. But hey, people are doing what they can. They're still out there tailgating. They're still, going through with their traditions and trying to get that feel for those sports as much as they can, especially Texas high school football.
Hey, one thing, and I know your fiance will probably tune in. Will probably tune in on the replay. But man, you've got some breaking news in your personal life.
Well, hey, I appreciate you for bringing it up. But yes, I did just propose to my fiance. Her name is Elaine. Just a couple of days ago on our 3-year anniversary, she said yes. In case anybody was wondering, so not to bog anybody down with my personal life, but I'm definitely on a high right now. I'm just absolutely ecstatic.
I think there was an over-under on that, actually. Maybe in Vegas there was an over-under.
Oh no.
Yes
I think that
kind of an even money play. You think?
I don't know. I would have put my money on it from the beginning.
Yeah.
Let me just say that I was pretty confident. I mean, it took a lot of planning and stuff, but I was nervous. Don't get me wrong. I was crazy nervous. Absolutely. But I was not nervous about her saying no. I was just nervous that I was going to mess up my words or mess up what I wanted to say or the plan of how I was going to do it or anything like that. But I had a lot of help. My brother-in-law came in clutch. I guess you could say my future brother-in-law, and, a couple of other friends came in for me. So it wasn't just me. It was a group effort. So shout out to everybody that helped me with it. And it was just absolutely perfect.
Congratulations. That's a big step. And maybe on a future show, she can join us remotely. Maybe talk a little bit about that.
She might not want to do
But hey, man, let's jump right in.
Let's do it. Let's talk about the football here.
Yeah,
Come
Coach
on.
Todd Rogers, I got him up on the screen again. Man, they go into Texarkana to play Pleasant Grove, Texarkana, defending state champion.
4A D2 state champs, Pleasant Grove.
Had plenty of work cut out for him. And I won't say they manhandled them based on the final score. They do win 52-41, but Argyle is the real deal. They go in there on the road, with limited travel. Their fans do travel well, but they had restrictions on how many fans could travel over there.
Right.
And another really, it's a news story. We were talking about it before the show as we were prepping. Tito Bice, he goes out as a captain, but did not get a single carry. So there is a little concern that maybe he's nursing, or they're hopefully not, but potentially an injury. Or Coach Rogers says, "Man, I've got some other horses in the stable, and Argyle's always got plenty of horses that they can save and rest Tito Bice for district play."
Yeah, I don't want to create, I don't think either one of us wants to create something that isn't there per se, John, but it obviously is just cause for a little bit of a question mark, you would say, in a lot of the heads of Argyle Eagles fans, just wondering why one of the best players on the team isn't out there, even though his head coach says that he's healthy. And not that we don't believe head coach Todd Rogers, but I guess we're kind of just curious what the strategy is there. If there is something wrong, we would like to know. We're not trying to force it out of anybody, but hey, maybe you're right, John. I think that Argyle absolutely has tons of talent in their backfield. They just showed it in this last game that they have the capability to, put several runners out there and be successful. Senior Braden Baker had over 100 rushing yards and a touchdown, which nobody did last week versus Decatur. So that's the first 100-yard rushing performance of the season for the Eagles. And then Knox Scoggins, the junior, had 55 yards rushing, and he led the team in carries against Pleasant Grove. So, they have talent.
And quarterback C.J. Rogers, we talked about him on the preseason show, coming in to fill those big shoes of Bo Cephas.
Now, Todd Rogers was not kidding about one thing, and it is CJ Rogers. He said in our interview with them that, hey, CJ Rogers has been working his tail off and that he is legit, and he has gone out there in his first 2 games and absolutely proved that.
10 TDs, 0, I repeat, 0 interceptions.
5 TDs in week 1 and week 2. Just, you love to see it. Absolutely.
On the road, he goes 13 for 23, 280 yards and 5 TDs. Boy, that keeps the defense off balance.
On just 13 completions.
With that running attack as well.
Yeah.
That's big offensive line up front. We talked about them. Argyle always has, call them hogs, the big hogs up front.
Yep.
And, I think they just moved into the number 1 spot in the state of Texas.
Yes, they did. Argyle is now ranked number 1 in 4A Division 1. So that is official. They were number 2 going in, and Pleasant Grove was number 1 in 4A D2 going into that game. So it was number 1 versus number 2, and now it's flipped. Pleasant Grove dropped to number 2 in D2, and now Argyle has moved up to number 1 in 4A D1.
Cole Kirkpatrick, one of the most electrifying receivers last season, continues right where he left off. 7 catches, 185 yards, counts for 3 of the TDs from CJ Rogers.
Out of everybody I saw on the field and when I watched the game, John, Cole Kirkpatrick, I didn't watch a ton of Argyle last season, but when we were going and doing our preseason show and I was looking at the stats for Kirkpatrick from last year, 30 touchdowns or something like that. That's insane. And so I was like, man, week 1, he wasn't electrifying, but he had a solid game. He had a touchdown, a couple of catches, but man, here he comes out in week 2 looking exactly like I'm sure he did all of last year. 7 catches, 185 yards, 3 touchdowns. And on his third, he should have had a 4th. He was gone on a 4th one, ended up stepping out of bounds. And on his 3rd one of the day, it was just a little screen pass inside the red zone. Ended up just looking like a man among boys, shaking off tons of tacklers, getting into the end zone. Love to see it. Super electrifying, super aggressive play. Cole Kirkpatrick put on a show.
Jasper Lott added 3 catches, 45 yards, and 1 TD. Man, I love this name, Cash Walker. 2 catches, 40 yards, and another TD. Talk a little bit about the defense. Argyle, each and every year has an explosive offense, but sometimes that defense plays a little second fiddle to that explosive offense, but they are coming ready to play as well.
Yeah, it happened last week too. I guess CJ Rogers' 5 touchdowns outshined the 5 turnovers that Argyle's defense was able to force against Decatur last week, including 3 straight in the second half of that Decatur game on Decatur's first 3 drives of the second half. Very impressive in week 1. And then here they come out in week 2. They forced 3 more turnovers against Pleasant Grove, one of the most talented teams in 4A. Like we said, defending champions from last year, including a really critical second half interception that was made by junior Cade Moore. And there was also a big fumble recovery by junior Jeff Copeland in the 4th quarter that he ended up taking 50 yards to the house. And that was kind of the nail in the coffin of that game, John.
And we always like to talk special teams because especially deep in a playoff run, special teams plays a big role. The kicking game, we saw it with Denton Geyer last season during the playoffs at Miracle at AT&T Stadium, the onside kicks. Shout out to Eagles kicker Caden Dobson. He's 15 for 15 on point after attempts, which is not always the norm.
No, it's not. And I know that he missed a field goal in week 1, but here he comes out in week 2 and he nails a 41-yarder with room to spare. Not every kicker can hit that kick in Texas high school football. So, and like we said, 15 for 15 on his PATs. We just wanted to give a shout out to Caden Dobson. I know he's also been putting in some work on the defensive side of the ball. He actually had one of those 5 turnovers. He had an interception in last week's game against Decatur. So Caden Dobson making plays all over the field.
Well, hey, sports fans, thank you again for tuning in. This is the DenCo Gridiron Show this season live every Wednesday at noon. We're on Twitter today, Twitter, Periscope, Facebook, YouTube. We're sending it out to 3 channels.
We're also live over here on Instagram as well.
Yeah, we're over here on Instagram
I guess we're
as
on
well.
4.
So, man, great stuff. So I know a lot of y'all can't tune in during the day, especially the players. So we'd love for your comments on the replay. We monitor those throughout the week. And then starting on September 26th, we'll be live again on Saturdays at noon right here in studio, bringing you Friday night's action, Thursday night's action. And we're so glad to be here on season 4. But this reset, we're going to be joined next by Coach Dave Henigan from the Ryan Raiders. So share this out, and we'll be right back. Grayson, you ready to bring up Coach Henigan?
Yeah, let's do it.
Man. Coach Dave Henigan, how you doing, sir?
Hey, what's going on?
Man, you are another one of our tech savvy coaches. You just man, dial right in. Audio is fantastic. Now, do you have a technical intern over there that works with you at the Ryan Raider Fieldhouse?
I kind of do, but he didn't help me on this one. I've gotten pretty good at the whole zoom in, and this type of stuff. Everybody's gotten pretty good at it the last few months.
Yeah, that's true. That's one thing that makes our job a little easier because everybody's used to connecting virtually through the camera, through the iPad, through the iPhone. And, that's when we started the show 4 years ago, it was all about the video piece. I don't know about you, Grayson, but I don't like to write much, Coach. I like to talk and just tell football stories. And, man, so glad you could hop on this Wednesday with us. How did practice go yesterday?
It went well for the most part. I mean, it's weird because the reality is we've been at it. It's not like a typical first day of practice where you've been off. We've been at it for 7 weeks now. Different. It's only been going for an hour a day or whatever. But so we got to practice a little longer and put a helmet on, which gives it a different feel, of course. But it was good for the most part. A little sloppy, which is pretty typical in my opinion of. Yesterday wasn't the first day of school, but it was the first day we were in person in school. And so a little bit sloppy at times, but, all in all, pretty good.
Some of the challenges with COVID, we've all had to, I use the analogy, we're all been dealt a unique hand of cards, and you just got to play the cards that you've been dealt. But how have your players reacted to it and the coaching staff? Anything unique and different? I'm sure they're all glad to be back together.
Yeah, I mean, it's been interesting. There's no doubt. They're fine. I mean, it gets to the point now that you really have been doing it, especially with the varsity. You've been doing it now, since mid-July, and a lot of schools have been doing it since mid-June, and it just kind of becomes second nature. You still, kids want to congregate, still kids want to, gather around together during their downtime and whatever. And so you're constantly trying to get them to keep those masks up when they're supposed to. But the reality is the things like disinfecting and those sorts of things that we have to do, it just becomes kind of second nature, just what we do now. And so it's pretty smooth, really.
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from there, Coach. It's crazy to think that it's been, coming up on 10 months to a year since a lot of players have been able to just put on pads and stuff, but it's been, just several months of these regulations at this point. So it's good that everybody's at least gotten into a groove of things over there. But it seems like a lot of your players, even Jatavian Sanders mentioned to the Den Record Chronicle, like, man, we play today if we could. Like, does it feel like it's been forever? Like, does it feel like it's a long time coming for week one, or has the hype kind of been growing more recently now that you guys can see the first game coming up?
Probably a little bit of both. Yeah, I do feel like we could probably go play tomorrow if we had to. It's been, we didn't have an off season, so part of me feels like, wow, we're not ready. But that's normal for any first game. You never really feel like you're totally ready to play it. At some point, you just need to go out and line up and see what happens. And so, I think it's a combination of both. Kids are ready to go. We have a pretty good core of kids back that have played a lot of football, a lot of big games, but we're breaking in a bunch of new ones too. And so they may feel a little differently than those guys like Jatavian that have, been in 34, 35 varsity football games already.
Coach, had you on in the spring, and I saw Seth Henigan bouncing in behind you there, and we had him pop on briefly. And I kind of put him on the spot. I mentioned something about which school you're leaning toward, and I literally think the very next day or the next weekend he committed to Memphis. I know how proud you are, and that's a neat story here in Texas. The coaches that get to coach their own kids. You've got a ton of talent there at Denton. Ryan, you've been there before as an assistant, then you come back as a head coach. Was that part of your rationale when you took the job quite a few years ago now at Ryan, because you knew you had plenty of talent that came through the field house here?
Yeah, I mean, no question. I think that I had a good job in Grapevine, and particularly dropping to 5A. Grapevine became a much better job than it was in 6A, and it's a great place to live, and we enjoyed it there. But yeah, I mean, Ryan's a special place, and so and talent is certainly part of that, and there's a lot more to it, but that's definitely part of it. We felt like my goals are still to win a state championship as a head coach, just from a football perspective, in addition to everything else that we do for kids. But from just a football, that's still a goal of mine. It's the reason I came back here. We've been close, and so I mean, being around talented kids helps you be a better coach. There's no doubt.
Yeah, it's been fun. There's so much talent in all the schools that we cover here at the DenCo Gridiron Show to see those kids develop. When we see them as sophomores, starting to have that glimmer of shine to them, and then they move into their junior year and now their senior year. It's just a special time, and you get to kind of foster that relationship on to the next level. It's a great opportunity.
Yeah. Coach, I was gonna say to kind of round back over to your son Seth at quarterback. When I was in high school, my dad was actually also my coach of the high school team, and it was an interesting dynamic, that father-son player-coach relationship, and kind of balancing that. And that obviously improved with each game on our end. But I remember seeing him, like, in his first game. I was there at that game in his debut as the starting quarterback, and just thinking, like, man, he honestly he's got some pretty big shoes to fill. He just watched Spencer Sanders roll through and kick butt for 4 years, and now here he is. His dad's the head coach. He's got a lot to fulfill himself here, and yet now here he is. He's seen a ton of success. He's going to Memphis. I mean, what does that mean to you, just to be able to work with your son these last couple of years and see him develop and know that he's going to get to progress to the next level?
It's been a lot of fun. It's not always fun. He took over for his brother in an injury against Denton High. And after Spencer had just graduated, so absolutely. I mean, he had big shoes to fill, but Seth's always been kind of unflappable, really, his whole life. I mean, even when he was playing T-ball when he was 4 years old, he didn't shy away from going out and playing with the 6-year-olds and get hits and run around the bases. And so the fact that he did that and stepped into those shoes and didn't get phased doesn't really surprise me. He's worked hard to make himself into a better quarterback and a better football player, so I'm proud of him for that. Obviously he's as good as anybody I've ever been around. And so getting the opportunity to go play at the next level, I think, is a goal. It's been a goal of his. And so I'm proud of him for working really hard to attain that goal. It's not always easy to be a coach's kid, and it's certainly not easy to be a coach's kid here. It's certainly not easy to be a coach's kid at that position here. When people think the only reason you're playing a lot of times is because you are the coach's kid. And so to fill into those shoes and to take on that role head on and to not be phased and to play the way he's played the last couple of years, it's credit to him and his work ethic.
Hey, Coach, one final question. You got a whole slew of talent there that the whole Denton area knows about, but is there an up and comer, maybe either a move in or a kid moving from JV to varsity this season that we should have our eyes on?
Anthony Hill. I would have your eyes on Anthony Hill. There's several probably, but Anthony's a kid who physically certainly looks the part at about 6'2.5", maybe 6'3", 215 as a 15-year-old sophomore linebacker. And he hasn't played much on Friday night. He played a little bit in the playoffs. He ran down on kickoffs, and he got some mop-up duty in some of the early playoff games. But, he's already garnered a bunch of scholarship offers from some of the biggest programs in the country, and we look for big things from him, in addition to a lot of other kids. I mean, we have a lot of kids that are going to have to step up and fill big roles. Colt Delatorre, another sophomore that's probably going to end up being our starting center as a sophomore, who's obviously got some bloodline with his dad, who was an NFL player, and his brother, who played at the University of Texas. So we look for big things from both those guys, in addition to a lot of others.
Well, Coach, Imani Bailey was your main running back, for the last couple of years. Kiori Hicks takes over. I know he's had plenty of opportunity back there as well. What do you expect out of him this season? Because I know you like to balance things, lead with run and then throw the ball with Seth back there in the pocket.
Yeah. I look for big things from Kiori. Kiori is very, very talented. He is, in my opinion, he's a scholarship running back. He's going to be the featured guy this year, and he's really had a great last 6 or 7 weeks, working as hard as he's ever worked. And Kiori is super talented. So, I hope that there's not going to be any kind of drop-off, to be honest with you.
Well, Coach, we know that the expectations and your expectations and goals for the team are another state championship title run, and we wish you guys the best of luck in 2020, and thank you so much for coming on the show today.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Coach Dave Henigan, have a great season. We'll talk to you soon.
Anthony Hill, he said there's a lot of guys coming through that. Yeah, and obviously there's tons of players that you should always keep an eye on with Den Ryan. There's so much talent running through there nowadays. But a sophomore, 6'2", he said about 6'2", 225. He's a rover corner. And I'm saying that this guy's already got SEC offers from Bama, Tennessee, Texas A&M here, North Texas, Colorado. Like, wow, Anthony Hill, the sophomore, getting some attention.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see him up close and, kind of a sideline view. I know with COVID, there's media restrictions. We have to be careful and plan in advance on when we can get out to,
of course,
to games and practices. But, man, it's always good to see them up close and see them in action. So, hey, everybody, reset. We will be joined by Coach Michael Young of the Lake Dallas Falcons next. Make sure you comment, share, and we appreciate you tuning in on this Wednesday. We'll be right back with Coach Michael Young. Stay tuned. Man, the Lake Dallas Falcons, year in, year out, Grayson, they have an opportunity to do some big things. I know Coach Young, in talking to him before the season started, really feels good about his team coming into this 2020 season.
It seems like Michael Young is in Lake Dallas. They have one of those programs that I feel like deserves more eyes and more attention. And sometimes they just don't get it. Yet Michael Young doesn't pay attention to those types of things. He's always just focused on his players, focused on the goals ahead for his football team. And I'm really excited that we get to have him on the show today and just talk to him about the 2020 season that he's preparing for with his guys.
Yeah, let's see if we can bring him up right now. Coach Michael Young, how are you, sir?
Great. How are you guys?
Doing fantastic. So, thank you so much for being on the show with us today, man.
I'm glad to be here.
Man, did you redo your office, or are you in a different room there in the field house?
I'm down here in the defensive dungeon room for the defense. Yeah. The only place I can find quiet. We got coaches coming in and out for lunch breaks right now, so I don't want.
I know it's very noisy there in the field house. I've been there several times and had the privilege of doing your coaches show for a couple seasons. And I know in talking to you during this off season, you're anxious to get back, and all the coaches are, all the players are, all the fans are. What's it been like at Lake Dallas on the campus to get everybody back, on the field and together as a unit?
Well, it's been great to see that, to put pads on Monday or put the helmets on Monday was a big deal. But, we've been like Coach Henigan, I heard him say earlier, we've been going at this since June. So we've really been together and working hard for quite a while now to get to this point. But it is exciting to kind of see that, there were some times a month or two ago we didn't know if we were going to get to play. But you can see now that it's coming, and it's coming fast, and that is exciting, I think, through the school and through the community and the kids and coaches.
Have you been able to talk to some 4A coaches? I know, man, coaching is such a fraternity. You've got connections not just over the state of Texas, but in other states. Have you talked to some of the other coaches in the 4A classification or below that have gotten like 2 games under their belt and kind of just gauge on what it's been like for them and how they've gone about their business?
I haven't talked to a lot of them, but I've been watching a lot of games. I've got to watch the Lindsey Munster game the other day. I've never got to watch a Kraut Bowl before.
Yeah.
I've always been playing. I have some family that's up in that area, so I've enjoyed watching some of those games. I've watched how they paid attention kind of how they're doing things on their sidelines and in the stands. You can kind of see some things. So I have paid attention to that and enjoyed watching some of the football. And the good news is we haven't heard anything from, from those schools of having any problems. So that's good news for everybody too.
That is good.
Coach, I know that, you just mentioned, it seemed like just a while ago, we didn't even know if we were going to get on the field. And I know that just a couple weeks ago, you were in on several Zoom meetings, I'm sure, just doing all those reschedulings with the rest of your district and just trying to get all of your schedules right, not just for varsity, but also for JV and the freshmen, and just making sure that every player and every coach and every program in y'all's district was ready to get out there. How stressful were those meetings and just trying to get all of that done, not just in general, but having to do it, over Zoom on your computers and just continuing to try and make the season work during that time?
Well, I think about 3 or 4 weeks ago was probably as stressful as we've ever had during a season. That's when we were kind of figuring out schedules, what we're going on. Like, for example, I remember when the Fort Worth came out and said that they were going to postpone and they weren't going to start for a while. Well, the first thing I thought of was who we were scrimmaging was Azle. I remember looking them up, and their address is actually Wise County, so I didn't think about it. But their admin building is actually in Fort Worth address. So I didn't even think about calling them. And about 6 hours later, I got a call. Well, we weren't going to have a scrimmage. So trying to find scrimmages last minute. But there was just a lot of things. And we're not used to all this stuff that goes on. Coaches, especially me and my staff, we've been here for 15 years, going on 16, most of all of us together. So it's really easy. The start of practice, our schedules, what we do. When you throw all this into it, it's totally different. There's so many things too that even pop up daily that you're not used to, and then have to account for and plan for. So it's been a busy time. We're ready to just start playing some football.
Coach, you come off a season that you knew it was a kind of a rebuilding season last year. You dealt with some injuries. Rolling into this season, you've got 8 returning starters. You got some holes to fill. I know we've talked. You've got some talented players coming back to fill those holes. You got a short window to really put your starting team out on the field. How do you go about analyzing your depth chart, talking to your coaches, and putting the best 22 on the field come game night here in just about 2 weeks?
Well, this has been hard for us because of not having spring. That was a really big – we're going to have maybe 9 to 10 sophomores that start. So that's always really – I have old coaches always tell you for every sophomore you have starting is a loss. So hopefully that's not going to be the case, because we're going to have a lot of them, because we got a lot of sophomores going to start. So not having the spring for those guys was really difficult. They had great summers, but still not having the pads on, and because – the 7-on-7 and doing drills without pads, those guys can look good. But the main thing sophomores have to learn, the young kids, is the physical part of it. Getting off blocks, staying on blocks, finishing runs. And those are the things we didn't get to do a lot with them. So when we put the pads on for real, we got the shoulder pads on today, no contact with them for a couple days. But, come Saturday, it's going to be real big on evaluating those younger guys and getting them ready for the contact part of varsity football. Like I said, because we for sure going to have almost 8. It could be up to 10 sophomores that start.
Coach, out of some of your returning starters that are coming back this year, one of them, thankfully, is your starting quarterback in Trevor Moon. How has he looked during the offseason, just based on what you've seen out of him and heard from him so far in conversations you've had? And how critical is he to the success of your team this year? And who are some other guys that you're hoping step up into those leadership roles and kind of round out those sophomores and round out those gaps?
Well, Trevor's looked great. Last year at the end of the year, he really kind of figured it out. I thought the last 4 or 5 games, and that's what it takes a lot of times is just playing time at that position. And he's totally different, I think, physically now than he was a year ago. He's a lot quicker with his feet. He's a lot faster. His arm strength's better. He sees the game as really slowed down. So he's looked great. And we have depth at quarterback. We did not have that last year at all. So So we have a new kid, Morgan, that moved in. Sorsby's looked great. So we have a lot of competition and good quarterback play in practice, and that's always great. One thing you got to have during this season, or with this COVID, you have to have depth at all your positions. If you're not, you could have some serious problems. So quarterback's been a great one, and we have some young wide receivers going to start. We have Minifield, a running back that's going to play a lot that we're really excited about, who's as fastest kid as we've ever had here. He had the fastest 40 time we've ever had as a freshman. So before we got out of school for COVID. So, and we have 3 or 4 guys that are going to start in the secondary. We have 3 offensive linemen that are sophomores that are going to start. So, but we're excited about all of them. We've looked good in practice. I think we're better right now, no doubt, offensively than we were last year at this point. Last year, we didn't score in the inter squad against ourselves. We didn't score in the scrimmage against Azle. It took us about 3 weeks to be able to score a touchdown until we played Denton High. So I know we're a lot better offensively than we were last year, and hopefully we can build on that here in the next couple of weeks.
Coach, speaking of Denton High, man, you draw a week 1 matchup against the Denton Broncos, Coach Billy Miller. Man, it's always been a nice crosstown rivalry. We've talked about it on the show for many years. And, you had a tough loss against them last season in overtime. How is it to start your season with Denton High? And, that one, you hate to say we got one circled on the schedule, but, man, I think you got to say you've got that one circled.
Oh, yeah, it was a tough one. They got off on us. We've had that first week we were so bad on special teams. It just killed us, and we got behind. We come back, we take a lead. We score a defensive touchdown to go up 8. There's hardly any time left, and we give up about a 70-yard touchdown pass. Really bad mistake, and gave up a long one right at the very end. They go for 2, make it, and win in overtime. So it was a tough one, but it's going to be a great challenge for us. They have 9 guys, I think, both sides of the ball back. They're big and physical. They're going to be athletic. It'll be a good test for our young kids because they're going to have a pretty good team. And I know they play in a really tough 5A Division I district. I know if they were in our district, they would definitely be competitive for a playoff spot. There's no doubt in my mind. So I think they're scrimmaging even Denison that first scrimmage, and we'll see. They'll give a really good Denison team, I imagine, all they want. So it'll be a good test for our young kids.
Coach, anything special, for the fans that might be tuning in? I know you guys do a great job communicating there through the Lake Dallas Quarterback Club. But as far as special protocols for the fans that may want to come to Falcon Field and watch a game, has that been finalized yet?
Yeah, we've sent out, I think, something a couple days ago that, the UIL had come out with something new for fans, and we relayed that to our fans a few days ago. Our kids and coaches have worked so hard for all this, and we've had to learn a lot of things, the mask and the social distancing and all the cleaning. And, to be honest, now it's up to the parents to kind of do their part for all this. Wow. They've got to do the right things in the stands. The UIL had some direction in there that, if there's not things done right at the games, schools can, face a penalty for it. So, now it's our fans' part to do the right things, to wear their mask. Families sit together, but the rest of them need to spread out, keep their spacing. And it's going to be important for our parents now to do their part because the kids, the coaches have been working hard at this. And I know our parents want to see the kids play. They want to be part of it too. So I know I'm pretty sure everybody's going to do their part because the main thing we want to do is to play all the games. That's what we came here to do, and that's what we want to do.
Well, Coach, I think you said it yourself earlier. You're like, I think that, everyone's just in the routine at this point. Everybody gets it. And I think we're all just ready to see some Lake Dallas football. And we're absolutely excited to see you guys this year in 2020. And best of luck to y'all this season. All
right. Appreciate you having me. Good luck to you guys.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon, and we'll be following you throughout the season. Have a great day and great rest of your week, Coach.
You too. Thanks a lot.
Everybody, Coach Michael Young, Lake Dallas Falcons, man. He's I lose track of time, Grayson, but he's been there 15 plus years, man. Just been a solid foundation in the community. And that's what Texas high school football is really all about. Really a Friday night lights town, even though they're right here kind of in the Metroplex. But man, what great support that he has there in the Falcon community, and what a great job he's done.
Yeah. I actually was thinking about this last week, John, we cover 9 different schools here on the show. And thankfully, a lot of the head coaches have been at their respective programs for just years and years and years. And I think both of the guys that we've had on today, Dave Henigan and Michael Young, are just prime examples of that. Guys that have just been dedicated to their programs year in, year out, and have just, changed a lot of players' lives, a lot of kids' lives. And you just love to see that. You love to see when a coach, just no matter what, is just dedicated to a program and kind of just represents what that program is.
And that's really why we do the show, is to bring those stories, those coaches, everything that's going on. And it's just special. And, hey, hats off to all the coaches, man. They work, 80, 90, 100 hours a week this time of year. And they're going to have to go above the Call of Duty with this COVID thing.
And they have at this point. And you got to, Michael Young just said it there. He's like, you just have to credit every parent, every teacher, any person that has helped put on this season. It's been a group effort beyond measure. So it's each team really just deserves to have their respective seasons go smoothly.
I saw Matt Stepp, who does a fantastic job for Dave Campbell's Texas football. He tweeted earlier there's a game scheduled for tomorrow night, or Friday night rather, or it might be Thursday, I don't know, but it's been canceled already due to COVID. So there's concern out there. We want everyone to be safe. Well, Grayson, again, man, thanks for another great show. That's going to do it for us. You guys tune in each and every Wednesday here on the DenCo Gridiron Show. We are live from Denton, Texas, and thank you for being a part of this one.
Yeah, make sure that you follow us on all social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. We're on all of those. We're going live on all 4 of those platforms each show. So make sure you tune in. Next Wednesday will be our next show. And then once we are in 2 weeks from now, when our seasons are able to kick off for 5 and 6A, we may toss in a second show on Saturdays or something and do 2 shows a week for you guys. And
100%.
More things to come from the DenCo Gridiron Show. Make sure you keep tuning in and make sure you keep following us on social media. Thank you guys for watching.
Yeah, take care.
From Fox 4, make sure to tune in to the DenCo Gridiron Show.